I'm waiting for home prices to go down. I'm sure you've said that yourself before, or you've heard someone else say it. I hear this all the time in the comment section of my videos. And it makes sense because home prices are at record highs, and we all know what goes up must come down. And with the economy like it is, home prices have to drop, right? Or do they? That's what we're going to talk about in this video. Are home prices going to drop? And if so, when will they drop? Then we'll also talk about when you should buy a home. Will home prices drop? You know, it's hard to say. They really need to, right? They need to drop, but will they drop? I'm not 100% sure, and this is why. It really comes down to inventory, and we have a lack of inventory. What that means is there aren't a lot of homes that are for sale that meet the amount of buyers that there are on the market. There are many reasons for this. I would say one of the main reasons is about 90% of homeowners with a mortgage have an interest rate of 5% or lower. The current interest rate as of this recording is around 7%. Most homeowners don't want to buy a home right now when they know that home prices are high and they're going to be getting a higher interest rate. Most likely their mortgage payment is going to be more than what they currently pay. It makes sense for a lot of homeowners to not sell their home because of that. Another reason is there's not a lot of new construction. Then, like I mentioned before, there are more buyers than there are sellers. And I think one of the main reasons why we haven't had some sort of crash yet is because of the low inventory. That's what really quote-unquote saved us from a crash, in my opinion. When will home prices go down? So before we get into that, I do want to mention that real estate is hyper-local. So nationally, home prices are on the rise. However, there are some local markets where home prices are actually dropping. For this, I'm going to focus a little bit more on areas that haven't seen major price drops, which is the majority of markets anyways. Again, I really think it comes down to inventory. When there are more homes that are coming on the market, there will be less scarcity and people won't be as inclined to bid over asking price or buy a home that's clearly overpriced. Are you ready to find the perfect place to call home? Drop by workwithdanG.com where I'll handpick a real estate agent just for you. I also have a free home buyers course and exclusive tools like an affordability calculator. Let's make home buying a breeze. The link is in the description. As we all know, if you're on the market right now looking for a home, a lot of those homes are overpriced and people are still paying those prices. Not all the time, but it's still happening. I think there will be a point where that won't happen as much. And also, of course, if there's some sort of economic downturn or housing market crash, then prices will most likely go down. But as far as when that'll happen, it's really hard to say. When will we get a lot of inventory? That's the question. I mean, my guess is 5 or maybe even 10 years when we really start to see a decent amount of inventory. But you do have to think, even before the pandemic, most markets were experiencing low inventory, just not as low as we're experiencing now. So even if things get quote-unquote normal, it's not going to be a buyer's market. A buyer's market is when there are more homes for sale than there are buyers. Now, of course, if there is some sort of economic downturn, that's when buyers could have an advantage. However, the catch-22 of that situation is that if it's anything like the 2008 housing market crash, people couldn't get a loan from the bank. Even if there is a crash, will you actually be able to buy a home? If you are someone who's really set on buying a home when the home prices go down and you're willing to wait, I would recommend that you try to save up a lot of money and try to buy with cash if possible, which I know is really difficult to do for a lot of people, but I would think that that's probably going to be your best bet if there is some sort of economic downturn or housing crash. Now, to wrap up this part of the video, I don't think home prices are going to go down significantly anytime soon. Now, after hearing all this, when should you buy a home? Well, realistically, you want to buy a home when the prices are at their lowest. Of course, we don't know when that'll be, and a concern for people is getting priced out of the market, which many people have already experienced. I do think if you're someone who's ready to buy soon, you can afford it, and you really want to buy a home, then I think somebody like that, it probably makes sense. But if you could go either way, you don't mind waiting it out, you've already waited it out 2, 3, 4 years, whatever it is, then I think that's an okay strategy. Just keep waiting. You just have to realize that it's possible that it could take a very long time for home prices to drop significantly, and you have to be okay with that. Ultimately, when it comes down to when you should buy a home, it's when you're ready. When you're financially ready, emotionally ready, you're stable in your life and your job, everything. That's when I think someone should buy. Yes, there may be opportunities that come up, but if you're not in the best spot to buy a home, it doesn't really make sense, especially now, to jump into trying to buy a home and then things don't work out and you have to sell the home sooner than later and potentially at a loss. Trust your gut and do what's best for you. Check out this video about home prices dropping or this video about if you should buy a home or not. Thanks for watching to the end, especially if you're a subscriber.